Players might have had a few weeks to get to grips with everything Overwatch 2 has to offer, but one thing no one seems to be able to agree on is whether push is a good game mode or not. Depending on what corner of Reddit you end up in, players seem to either love it or think it's worse than 2CP and has got to go. But whether we like it or not, it's here to stay, so while we're chasing TS1 across the map, we might as well at least try and make sure we win as many games as possible. So if you're struggling to keep up with our new favourite robot, and especially if you're a newbie to the wonderful world of Overwatch, here's a few tips and tricks to keep you pushing in the right direction on Overwatch 2's newest game mode. Rule number 1 of push is to stay as a team. It might sound obvious, but you'd be amazed how often teams get split at the spawn and end up running at their opponents with no supports ready to back them up. Push's maps are massive by Overwatch standards, so getting back into the fight after a death can be pretty bloody arduous. So make sure you don't make it worse by rushing back in and ending up right back at spawn again. It's a vicious cycle, so stop it. Instead, hang back, wait for an opportunity to catch back up with your teammates, and get ready for the next push. You'll have way more of a chance at success if you attack as one. This does also apply to pretty much every single mode in Overwatch 2, but considering how often teams get staggered like this, it's vital you keep it in mind. Next up, remember that you don't actually have to win outright to win the match. Sometimes winning at push means not pushing the robot. Yeah, I know it sounds counterproductive, but bear with me. Let's say you have the lead and there's only a minute or so left. You don't need to win every team fight to secure the victory at this point. You just need to live long enough to stall the robot from moving. So set up at an advantageous choke or grab some high ground and wait it out until your enemies come to you. Just remember, you don't have to throw the kitchen sink into every team fight to win the robot back if you've got the lead. Another tip is to make sure you're always using our new best friend, Treadweather TS1 large utility robot to your advantage. Push maps are incredibly open, almost always leaving the defending team open to flankers or an attack from behind, and one of the easiest ways to survive these onslaughts is to use the natural barrier created by TS1's massive frame and the barricade he's pushing. Obviously there are times when getting off the point will be in your best interests, but for the most part, if you're a support pocketing a tank for example, TS1 and his handy dandy barrier is the second tank you've been crying out for. Remember when we said push maps were massive and way too open to be safe? Yeah, you're going to want to keep a weather eye on those flanks if you want to stay alive. Push maps make flanking an absolute doddle. In fact, they all but encourage it with the way each map is laid out, so it's vital you don't get tunnel vision and make sure you're checking those corners. Hallways, windows, doorways, there's no shortage of places for you and your enemies to hide, and it's all too easy to launch a surprise attack on an unprepared 5-stack, especially if the other team has a decent Genji or Sombra to get your heads turning to the rear. Divide and conquer is the name of the game, so if you can keep your head on a swivel while you're defending and make sure your DPS mains are getting in behind to turn your enemies whenever they get the opportunity, your win rate in push will improve dramatically. Just make sure you call out any flankers you see and get your damage dealers out on the wings or in behind as much as possible. And finally, and this is probably our most common sense tip, and yet still so many players don't manage it, learn the maps. In case I hadn't mentioned it already, push maps are really bloody big, and I know it's hard to keep track of where everything is and all the corridors and entranceways look the same, but trust me, it'll help more than pretty much any other tip on this list. Each map has its own quirks, its own unique choke points, high ground positions and ideal spots to flank. Esperanza, for example, has a key choke point midway through the map where TS1 passes beneath a bridge. If you can snatch the high ground or manage to jump in behind, enemies are easy pickings for the organised 5-stack. So there we go, 5 tips to keep you pushing for the win in Overwatch 2's newest game mode. How have you found push so far? Is it the best mode Overwatch has had in years? Or are 2CP maps actually way better? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Chuck this vid a like for luck in your next comp queue, and subscribe for more Overwatch 2 content like this. Thanks for watching.